Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trend Watch from CompTIA Research, where we give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that from some of the studies that we've been doing in the technology space. Today, we're going to talk about two areas that work very closely together and are probably going to change over the next few months in terms of the ways that they're structured within business and in terms of what their goals are for the business. And those two areas are software and data. And let's talk about software first. So software has had kind of an interesting journey. It used to be something that only very large companies did, whether they were selling software or if they were large enough to have some of their own internal development. But with a lot of changes in the space, like the move to web-based architectures, the move to open source, the move to microarchitectures, more and more companies have invested in software development, either to give themselves some web presence or to customize and automate some of the other software that they're purchasing from other vendors. So now companies have these software teams and they've built kind of a complex stack of software. And I think that presents a unique challenge for the software teams within an organization to build what we're calling like a bespoke platform for tying all of these applications together. This wouldn't be something that a company would package up and try to sell. This would just be work that gets done, kind of behind the curtain in order to tie together and automate all of these different pieces of software that are getting purchased from cloud providers or getting purchased as packaged software. They might be getting purchased from business units versus the IT department. There's a really complex landscape out there for a lot of organizations. And I think they're going to start needing their software teams to start tying everything together. So we see in our data that 35% of companies say that they've got a very wide variety of software applications currently installed. That number actually goes up to 52% if you look at the companies that are trying to be aggressive adopters of technology. So those companies that are on the cutting edge are using more and more software applications. And so as companies are driving forward with their technology adoption, having more applications is going to be kind of standard business. But then only 35% of companies say that those applications are highly integrated. And we see this a little less common among IT staff who would recognize and say, yeah, all of our applications are nicely tied together. I think they have more awareness of what that architecture is and more awareness that there's a lot more that could be done in terms of connections and automation. So tying all of these things together, I think will have a lot of benefits for companies as it improves workflow. It will make cybersecurity a lot easier since cybersecurity can be addressed at a platform level rather than one application at a time. And it will also make data access easier since there will start to be more of a concept of having a centralized data location that all of these applications are working from. And that leads us into the second field of data management and analytics, which is something that companies have been looking at for some time now as they started exploring big data and then they started looking more at advanced analytics. And in doing these things, they realized that they didn't have a lot of the foundational data skills in-house that they needed to have in order to build out these data structures and get to the point where they could do some advanced analytics. And now companies need to not only do these advanced analytics, but they also need to enable their AI practices. And enabling AI usually starts with using internal data in order to train the systems so that the systems know a little bit about the company and what the objectives are. And all of these things require having solid data principles and solid data processes within a company. In order to get that, we think that companies are going to start forming data teams a little bit more often. So today you might have data specialists. Some of them would sit on an infrastructure team. Maybe some of them sit on a software development team. Maybe some of them sit completely outside a technology function within business units. And I think we're going to start seeing companies draw these resources together so that they're all working on the same problem. And on the data management side, this would be job roles like database administrators who are doing the very first level of structuring and organizing the data. And then you would move into data engineers that are starting to do some manipulation of that data and prepare it for data analysis. And finally, on the management side, you would get up to a senior level data architect who's kind of overseeing the entire process and the entire storage architecture and how everything works together. Over on the interpretation side, you've got data analysts that are doing the work of data mining and trying to provide visualizations of some of the queries that they're doing. And then at more advanced level, you've got data scientists who are actually building new statistical models to run simulations on. And in a lot of cases, they're using machine learning algorithms, and they're starting to use more AI in order to be more predictive about what the data is telling them. So companies are going to have all of these job roles, and maybe they've got a lot of these job roles existing today, but they're going to start pulling them more into a centralized team, maybe reporting to a chief data officer, maybe just reporting to a chief information officer or something else. But we are going to start to see some coalescing of these data teams. And these two functions, software and data, are going to continue evolving as companies are trying to leverage them to be unique and have some differentiation in the market. So that's all for this episode of Trend Watch. We hope you'll join us next time.